Spillane, the Hulk Spillane. How are you, my man?
I'm good, man. How yourself?
Good, good, good. Great to have you on. I believe we're here to have a bit of a chat about your pro debut. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that? And then we'll get into a few other things that we have planned out as well.
Awesome. I'm making my pro debut on July 24th on Battle Arena. It's in Birmingham, and I'm making against a 2-0 guy. His name is Romic Sim. I'm lucky enough to have gotten a one-fight release in Bellator just to make the pro debut, because I've been waiting a while for this pro debut, so I just needed to fight, because it's been over a year since I had my last fight, and I was amateur, so I needed to get something out of the way. So I was fortunate enough that Battle Arena have invited me back. I used to hold their European title. I won it on a 7-second head kick knockout. So delighted to be back with Battle Arena and looking forward to making the pro debut.
Nice, man. So you're signed to Bellator, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and that happened right after the IMMAFs, or how did you get about?
Yeah, so they kind of approached me after I won the Worlds, and they were showing interest then, and it became official then during lockdown. It was official. I'd signed the contract, and then some journalist, Andy Stevenson, had kind of seen that I was on the website, and then it kind of pushed out the announcement. It was during lockdown number 1. I think it was during, could have been over a year ago now it was announced. Okay. But I was delighted to finally have it out there, because it was kind of like the worst kept secret in Cork, because everyone had known, because I told everyone, because it was kind of a big moment for me.
Obviously, so why not? You're signed to Bellator, of course, I'll be telling everyone.
It was the worst kept secret in Cork, so I was delighted that we could actually talk about it.
Yeah, and is it a bit of a big deal in Cork? Do people follow MMA in Cork? Because you speak to different people, and they live in areas, and people don't know what they do.
MMA is huge in Cork. Connor had Connor fought down here in Cage Warriors. Cage Wars have always been kind of big down here. Okay. We've us and SBG Cork, and then you have MMA Cork, two really, really big gyms in Cork. And anytime a show comes down here, if Cage Louse comes down here, or any other show, like Battle Arena used to come down here the whole time. There was talks of another show coming down here a few years ago. It's all we have Neptune Stadium. They're always great shows. And I'm looking to put Cork back on the map as well.
Yeah, so big up for Cork MMA at the forefront. Yeah. So, bro, since we are talking about Cork, let's go into your background a bit. So tell us where you grew up, where you went to school, and as far as I know, you were a bit of a rugby player before all the MMA started. Yeah, so tell us a bit more about that.
So I grew up in Blarney. I've been living in Blarney my whole life. I've never kind of really gone there. The gym I train at is literally down 5 minutes down the road. It's more in Blackpool, but it's kind of half and half. I went to school here in Blarney. When I was growing up, rugby was my thing. I played with a rugby team called Muskerry. Rugby was kind of huge in my family. All my uncles are all the coaches up there. All my cousins played. So it's kind of a thing I had to get into. And it was not until I turned 14, 15, and when I got my kind of growth spurt, that I was actually kind of good at rugby. The whole time I was a little small, fat kid who wasn't that good. I was always on the bench. I was always kind of showing me on for the last 10 minutes. Yeah. And then I had the big growth spurt and became 6'4", and they were fuck, I'm going to have to play you.
Yeah. Happy days working in your favor. And
so then started.
Yeah, no, go on.
Yeah, so then I started playing it a bit more, and it kind of got better at it, started playing then on the Munster Academy, and then it kind of that was my thing. Rugby was my thing, and that was all I was playing.
So it must have been a bit of a shocker if the family was so involved in rugby when you decided to kind of pick MMA over it. How did that go?
So my mom would watch me if I played chess. She'd support me in everything. She came to all my rugby games. She kind of doesn't like coming to the fights. She comes to a few of them, and she doesn't really like it. But then my dad was a boxer, and he was a high-level boxer, so she's kind of used to that. He hates MMA. He thinks he's a proper boxing head now, and he's all that roll around the floor crack is all that. But when I have a good fight and all that, he'll always say that, He'll take credit for my punches and all that. He'll be like, that's genetics there now. That's my left hook there now,
Nice. So when was the transition? When did it happen? Did it happen in secondary school, or was it after you finished school, or how did?
I think it was transition year. Rugby I was on the academy, and I was kind of it was at a stage where rugby had stopped, and I was kind of like, I'm at a really high level now. I have to keep going, I have to keep the fitness up and all that. So a buddy of mine, Emmett, was training down. We weren't SBG at that stage, we were called K2C. And I kind of was like, it was kickboxing, it was MMA. I kind of had like known about MMA. It wasn't really big. I seen the film Warrior, kind of that kind of.
Yeah.
It was around that time the film came out. It was like, that looks cool. You know, I'll give that a go.
It was a pretty good film.
Yeah,
it was a pretty good film. Yeah.
So I came down and I just started trying out, and then it became a stage then where it was me and my cousin started, Kelvin. We kind of did it together, and then it was kind of like I wanted to come down more, and it became like 3 days, you know, then 4 days, then 5 days, then I would do double sessions, and I was always down here. And then it kind of took over from rugby, and I fell in love with it more. And I was kind of like, fuck it, okay, grand. I'm gonna give up training here for a while now. I'm gonna do the rugby for 1 more year and see if I still love it. Because I'd been dropped from the academy as well, and I kind of wanted that fire back, and did the whole year rugby, and I hated it. I was like, I don't like it anymore. This is not for me, you know. So then went back to the gym. I gained a bit of weight. I was about 150 kilos, so I was a bit fat.
Big man.
Yeah.
I can't believe it at that.
Yeah. And Liam was like, lose the weight, let's get a fight. And I think it was in 4 months I had my first MMA fight. I had already kind of fought in like loads of kickboxing fights and all that while I was kind of doing half and half, but it was kind of the big push into amateur career then. And then from there, it was literally fight. And then it was just the next, I think that was 7 years ago.
And still here.
Still here, still fighting.
Pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. So just before we kind of get into the amateur career, I just wanted to kind of, delve into kind of the training between the two. You obviously you were at a pretty kind of, you're pretty high up in rugby as well. So you understand what it's like to, practice it every day. You're part of an academy, you know what training you have to do. What's the difference between the two? Is it more so like a personal thing versus a team thing, or what's the motivation?
When it comes down to actually training, I think the training kind of, it's the same really. Like if you're doing wrestling training, rugby and wrestling kind of are similar, that kind of, it's the grittiness of it it's the same. Fitness, it kind of stays the same too, because you're doing the same kind of movements and all that, like, and from the strength and conditioning side as well, it's pretty much the same. Yeah. What's really big is like when you're playing a game or having a fight, it's I could play a game and I could play absolutely shit and we could still win. But in my heart, I know I played shit, and I like that win isn't ours. Like I was like, fuck it, I didn't play good. Or I could play an absolute blinder and be unbelievable, and we could still lose, because the team wasn't there. Of course. But then in a fight, if I'm not there, I'm losing, and that's down to me. Or if I'm on there and I'm on fire, that's all me. Obviously I had a team that got me there, but when I stepped foot in the cage, that's all me. Like it's no one else has won that fight. I've done that. Yeah. And that's the big difference between them on the playing side of it. Training side of things, I think it's very similar, and I think having played rugby all my life, it kind of gave me a good jump up into MMA as well.
Nice. So then you based off that, then winning then is obviously a completely different feeling as well, because like you said, you could have a bad day, team does well, you win, vice versa. But in fighting, you have a bad day, you probably won't wake up. So
or you wake up with a
feel to win? You've had plenty of winning. Like we're gonna go into it now. You were European champ, you're a world IMMAF champ. Tell us a bit more about that kind of that process and that journey.
So my first IMMAF tournament was 2015. I did the Europeans, and since I had that kind of that experience IMMAF, it was very kind of like beginner back then. Like it was all over the place, and it was like you didn't get your gear and all that kind of stuff. Now where it's like it's a professional, like it's you show up and everything is like to a professional standard. Like when I started doing them, I was like I want a goal at this. Like the first one I was like I got a bronze, and I was like I really want this. So I think I done 6 to 7 IMMAF tournaments my whole career, and I was always chasing that gold. And I went to Worlds in Bahrain in 2017, got a bronze again, and then I was like, I want this.
I think I was there in 2017 when you were there as well. I went over there with France. One of the times when he fought in Bahrain, he was fighting on the big show. Was it the same month as the way that Brave used to have the biggest show in Bahrain? I don't know who had in that card. I think I was over there anyway, but
that could have been 20. No, was 2018? That could actually have been 2017. Yeah, because I remember there was always Bahrain always kind of had a fight week.
Yeah, exactly.
I think France was actually on that one.
Okay,
I
well
think,
then that would have been the one I was at, because I actually ended up flying back a day after him, and I was with like a lot of the Irish team from the IMMF. So I was like, all right, cool, yeah, the Irish lads are here. I was going to Turkey. I was going on a big detour before coming to Dublin. They were all coming to Dublin. I was like, yeah, see you lads. But yeah. So you did 6, 7 tournaments. You
yeah.
got a bronze. Any other kind of, were you any other podiums, or did you just get the bronze, didn't do
It
so
was
well? And then
it was two bronzes. It was a European bronze 2015, and it was a world bronze in 2017. And then 2018, then I had kind of fixed all the problems I had before. It was a lot of mental stuff, and it was sort of training and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, and in 2018, I felt really good and went off to Romania for the Europeans and ended up finishing both my fights with first round stoppages, with a omoplata finish, a TKO finish, and I was on fire, and it was my first goal, and that meant more to me than the worlds I won later on, because it was the first goal I got, and it was just like I finally gotten that experience, and be on the podium, hearing the Irish national anthem. It's fantastic having the flag. It was amazing. Like there was no better feeling in my career to that moment, winning that flag.
I'd say so, man. I really actually that's one of the things where I was interviewing France. He's an MMF gold, and I have a few other guys, that participated, and that's what I really wanted to hit on. So that feeling, you're sitting on the podium, you're number one, you're world champion. Do you know what I mean? Like MMS at the moment is still a bit in its infancy stage, but as years go by, it's becoming more and more of a thing, So you have your name engraved in that history. I mean, how does it feel like, how going home, you're a world champion? What's the thought process behind that?
When I won the Europeans and the Worlds, I believe I fought the best guys, because the guys I'd fought were at a very high caliber. They were like jiu-jitsu world champions, they were amazing strikers, and I had finished all of them. Like there was no doubt there. Like every single one I finished. I even finished one guy in the third round, and then went on then a few months later and finished him first round, just to prove myself I'm still better than that guy.
Yeah.
The Worlds, it was taken a lot from me, just because I had my 4 fights. They were all finishes, and then in the fourth fight, I cracked my ankle. So I threw a low kick and I hit his knee. My foot hit completely on knee, and it was fucked. So the way they go, it's Thursday semi-finals, and then Friday a day off, and then Saturday then you get the finals out of the way. Like, so you have one day off to recover, and the whole day Friday I was in bed. I was literally icing my leg. I was getting ready, because I was like, I'm going into this fight. I could have no leg and I'm still fighting. You could have one arm's broken. I'm still going in there and I'm fighting. I'm winning this goal. That's all I wanted. And then it ended up being that your man pulled out, and I've talked enough shit about him, how he pulled out that fight and all that. But there's no point going back talking about him, because he pulled out. There's no point even putting words in
old history at this stage.
He pissed me off. I actually almost started a scrap with him backstage, getting ready for the podium, because I was like, why the fuck did you fight me? Like, it was like, there's nothing wrong with you. You got a brain, you got your scan. There's nothing wrong with you. Your jaw's fucking grand. You're eating food. You can fight me. Oh, he got me very angry, and that took a lot from me, because I didn't have the last fight to actually win. Because normally what happens is you win your fight, and you literally have a few seconds before you're back in the podium, and you have that adrenaline flowing through you. I didn't have that. I was standing on the podium in like pants, like I wasn't in the gear, it didn't feel great. And it was only, when I got home, and that all my gym came to the airport, and they all had their flags and banners and all that, and that made it cool.
Yeah.
But it's still, the gold medal still means nothing to me, because I didn't actually win it. My European means everything to me, because I won that. I had 4 fights before that, and I finished all the guys, but I didn't have that the finals.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. It was unfinished business at that time, and then obviously with celebrations and that, and everyone being, kind of on top of you once you were home, it kind of makes you forget that. But it's still cool to have it, man. You look at yourself, right? For example, you're growing up, you have no idea about MMA, you don't have even have interest in it. If anything, with your dad having the background in boxing, you would have never thought, MMA is something I want to do. You get into an academy of rugby, and then you do really well at that, and then all of a sudden a change of heart, and a couple of years later you're a world champion. It's a pretty impressive thing, man. A lot of people do sports. There's a lot of champions at the moment in MMA, where on an amateur level they probably had just a couple of fights and then turned pro. It's something that I really like seeing, especially in Ireland, because Ireland seem to be very big into this. IMMAF, and it's obviously a great solid foundation to turn it into a pro, or to kind of, you know, go ahead and practice it further. In terms of that, you know, how do you feel? Do you feel like the experience from it, you know, brought you where you are today? Do you feel that maybe you should have done it more, or probably should have done it less? What is your kind of, you know, your thought process behind it?
I definitely think I have enough IMF tournaments under my belt. I have close to 20. I think I have 21 amateur fights.
Okay.
That's a lot. Like normally,
Yes,
guys, like
definitely.
especially when I was living in Australia, it was 3 fights and you turn pro, and that was it. Like, you know, you had 3 amateur fights, turn pro. England. So the guy I'm fighting in my pro debut, he had 3 amateur fights and turned pro. I have more. I've literally, from one tournament, I have more fights than he has in his pro and amateur records. You know, from one IMAF tournament.
Of course.
So that experience, like, and I fought all around the world. Like, so you like, I fought Russians. I fought all the Eastern European countries. I fought Poland. You know, I fought Ukraine. I fought all them. I fought, you know, English guys. I fought all the fighters that I felt all the experience. I felt that solid, like, you know, Russian wrestling where it was grindy. And so now when I jump in, especially now in Bellator, where they have a few really high level Russian wrestlers, I've already experienced that, so I know what to expect going in that. When you have guys now who can jump into UFC fights and fight a Russian straight away, and it's their first time fighting a Russian, and they're on the highest of stages and they're fighting that guy for the first time. IMAF is absolutely incredible. And like John Cavan only tweeted yesterday, being like, in 5 years' time, most of the UFC, most of the MMA champions in the world and professional will have an IMAF medal, an IMAF background behind them. Because it's the way forward right now. It's the only way you should be fighting as an amateur. We've guys coming up now who are doing the cadet tournament. We're putting four or five guys forward for the cadet tournament. That's under 17s. That's amazing. Now lads are going over to an under 17 tournament and fighting, you know, the best of the world. And then they have the juniors and then seniors. Like guys now who are training where I was will have close to 40, 50 fights of amateur before they're even turned pro, which is incredible. But for the stage I'm at, I'm very happy to have all that experience. I've experienced kind of everything that would throw professional off. So there's going to be there will be surprises in the professional leagues.
Of course.
But there's not much that will surprise me because of the amateurs.
Yes, of course. Well, that's good to hear, man, because, you know, like you said, there are so many people out there that, you know, they think doing 3 or 4 amateur fights is sufficient enough, and then you're going into the pros, and then, you know, the career doesn't start the way you want it to start because of that lack of experience. And you're totally right. You know, the more fights you do have at amateur level, losses don't really matter at amateur. You know, they do, but they don't really. They matter for you as a motivational factor. No, I was in, like, for the person as a motivational factor, and from what you learn from it, but in terms of, you know, the record and, you know, getting big fights, it doesn't matter. So it's a good way to get your losses out of the way and learn as much as you can. So, you know, in terms of that, you know, you've trained so much, you've had so many fights now. How does it feel to kind of, you know you're signed to Bellator, but, you know, I don't know if you're doing the pro debut in Battle Arena, but, you know, how do you find motivation? I mean, you've been training for quite some time now with nothing kind of cleared in mind. Only obviously in these weeks you have this latest fight. But how does that feel? Like, you know, waking up every day, knowing you're signed to one of the top promotions, but unfortunately with COVID, you know, you're at home and you're just training away. Can you hear me?
It was really terrible. When all the guys, you know, when Bellator had their 3 shows when it was in Milan and Paris last year and all that, and all, like, as I was up in Dublin, and I was living up in Dublin helping Johnny Walk get ready for his fight. So I was around all the lads, you know, like there was Kieran Clark, Danny Nealon and Dylan Logan. They're all getting ready for the fights, and I was like, you know, I was like, fuck, I don't have a fight, and I tried my best to get on that card, and I couldn't, just because there was loads of lads in front of me who needed fights, you know, because their contracts were, you know, they needed fights before me. I was the newly signed guy. I was the bottom of the list. And that hurted, and that was tough, and it was that really like it really pushed the motivation down. And then hit into the new year, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to work hard. And we had the one fight release, and we were looking for shows, and we reached out to loads of big enough shows, and they wouldn't take me because they were like, oh, you're signed to Bellator, there's no point taking you because we can't push it, you know, further. So that was shitty, you know. I had a lot of guys who I tried to call out, and they were just like, we don't want to fight you, you know, that kind of shit. Like, and then to finally get a fight, it's amazing. I'm obviously highly upset that I couldn't make my debut at Bellator, but I know it's only a matter of time. I know before the end of the year I'll have one fight, hopefully two, with Bellator. And this fight here now will put a statement to all the Bellators on the heavyweight roster that I'm here and I'm here to stage, and I'm here to wreck shit up like. So I'm going to put a statement on in 7 weeks' time, and it's going to be a big statement.
Nice, man. So just before we get into kind of, your training camp for this guy, you really do plan to have 2 fights in Bellator by the end of the year, yeah? So you're hoping that you'll get to follow this year, yeah?
That's my plan, is hopefully there's been talks of coming back to Europe in September, around that time, end of the summer, kind of that time. So that's where I'm. Scott said it in an interview back in March. He said it. He was like, "We're hoping to be back then." That's what I'm hoping for. Hoping we get one fight then, and maybe before the end of the year. I'm trying to aim. I don't care who they put in front of me. I'll fight anyone. I just want to fight with them. I want to finally show them what I want, and I want to work my way up through the rankings. That's my goal. Yeah. Hopefully get 2 fights. That's my plan.
Nice. So this fight, 7 weeks, your opponent, you said he doesn't have that much experience, but obviously he's good enough. He turned pro. Is it a 3-0 record he has, or a 3-1 record?
So he has two wins as a pro, both first round stoppages.
Okay, cool. And right, so how did that come about? He is currently signed to this promotion, or is he doing a once-off thing as well? And tell us a bit more, kind of, what specific training you did for him. What do you see as his main attributes being?
So I'm pretty sure he's signed to Bat Rail. I think he's had a few fights on the amateur level at them, but
okay.
Obviously the show popped up that they were looking for a heavyweight, and I think the guy was 5-0 or something like that. Liam, my coach, jumped on it, was like, "We'll take that if he's not matched," and he was matched. And their promoter was like, "Oh look, we'll get you a fight." Okay. And this guy took the fight, and fair fucks to me, took the fight. He's ready to step in there and crack it up. As kind of specific stuff, I haven't really trained for him. It's more I've kind of put my skills forward. Yeah. It's all about my skills, because you can train for a guy, and then the guy could pull out a week before a fight, and you get a new guy, and then you kind of, all your shit's kind of up in the air then, because you've trained for that one guy. Mm-hmm. I'm putting together my skills, and I believe my skills can put a dent in him. It's all about making myself better, because I believe that I'm going to put forward my game plan. If he ends up pushing me towards the ground, then my ground game will win. If it ends up being a striking match, my striking will win. If it's a grappling match, that's the way it's going to win. It's going to be, I'm going to be the one winning. He just picks how he loses.
Okay. Love it. Love the confidence, bro. So in terms of, training for yourself, I know you're training with the same kind of specific guys. Can you tell us a bit more about that, and a bit of sparring? Have you been sparring heavyweights, and if you have, any notable names that you want to kind of, give a shout out to?
So obviously with lockdown, it's a lot of kind of one-to-one kind of stuff for me and the coach. Pally Hands also on the cards. We've been training together and stuff, and we were trained to get all together because of Cage Legacy. So we had 5 guys in the cards. We had the 2 karate twins, Chris and Sean. They're fucking killers, and when they make their amateur debut, they're gonna they're off to Olympic qualifiers in a few weeks' time, and they're going to Olympics first. And then they're going to the Olympics first, and then they're going to go make their amateur debuts. They're killer feats. So we had them. We had guys like we have Fiona Rourke in the gym, who's off to IMAC cadets. He's been an absolute. He's a killer. We call him Fion Magomedov because he's a little Russian, like he's fucking wrestling us out of this world. So we had those kind of guys training up to the Cage Legacy card. I've also had the pleasure of sparring Mike Perez. He's a professional boxer. He's a Cuban. He's a Cuban here living in Cork, and he's a fucking killer. He has a pro fight coming up in Dubai in June. He is a monster. Nice. He really
get that working, grinding it hard, because I know when you put up your training on Instagram, it's mainly you're doing your weights and that, but you have been doing a lot of sparring and that, and had a few wars in the gym beforehand, getting ready for
a few wars, and I'm going up to help Johnny Walker get ready for his fight as well, so I'll be getting a few spars with Johnny Walker and stuff before this fight as well. So
are you good friends with Johnny?
I'll be going up soon when the gym start open back up again. I'll go up to Dublin and I'll do some spar with Johnny again. But
nice, man. Nice. And because I was talking to France, and he said he was doing a bit of sparring with him as well. He's a fight coming up now. It was announced, wasn't it, in the UFC?
Yeah, he's fighting Thiago Santos.
Indeed. Yeah, Santos. Yeah, that'll be a very interesting fight. So you're going to be actually part of that training camp, yeah?
Yeah. I'll be heading up, and there's a few other big guys heading up as well. So we'll all be part of his camp, and obviously it's part of my camp too. So it's kind of he's helping me, I'm helping him. Yeah. So it's cool to spar top 10. a top 10, top 15 UFC like heavyweight, like
Definitely,
that's the top of the top, like so
yeah.
having him,
Fair,
I've
man.
started him before as well, so
Happy days, happy days. So you're pretty much on the right paths now to success. It's all a matter of just getting over this guy and then trying to crack into the heavyweight division in Bellator. Do you have any plans? Let's say, once you get through this fight, is there a specific structure, strategy in place where you have, I'd like to fight within 3 months? And if so, if Bellator are not able to kind of give you that fight, would you be open to fighting again in one of these smaller shows if they let you? Just to keep active, or you're keen on getting into Bellator at this stage?
Yeah, it's keen on. So like realistically, like way my amateur career has gone, I don't really get that cut up and bloodied up in my fights. I have one slit across here, my whole amateur career, and I have a broken hand. That's all I have in 20 MMA fights. I don't really go in there and get injured. It's kind of, they're normally quick fights. They're normally either I'm getting stopped or you're getting stopped. But they're normally quick fights. They're normally first round, second round stoppages. So normally I'm not injured, so I'm fresh enough to go again. Like I'm here to fight. I'm not here to fight, then wait another 7 months and fight again. Like I'm ready to go straight away. If Bellator reach out to me and they're like, "Oh, do you want to fight in the end of August?" I'm ready to go. Like it's straight away. I'm ready to go. And doesn't matter who they give me. But personally, I'd like to fight Jake Hager. I've called him out enough, and I've kind of talked enough shit about him. But he's number 10, so he's my way on the rankings. He's ranked number 10. So if I fight him, I'm down the rankings, and then it's just working my way up through the rankings. There's fight number 10, fight 8, fight 6, fight 4, then fight.
They're trying to jump up in twos. Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah. You're jumping up.
Yeah, you don't really fight the ones. That's not really the way you go. Like,
no, of course. And what's your dream matchup in Bellator?
Dream match of Bellator, obviously it's Ryan Bader because he's the champion right now. But the two guys fighting for the interim belt, you have Valentin Mologosky, the Russian, and you have Tim Johnson. They're obviously, so they're fighting for an interim belt. I personally see one of those guys beating Bader eventually. So then they'll be dream matchups. Dream matchups kind of in the earlier stages. I think Davian Franklin would be a good fight. Tyrell Fortune. Like Bellator have a fucking stacked heavyweight division. There's some great guys there. They have Stephen Mowry as well. There's some killers there. And just to put my skills up against them guys and beat them is the way I can't wait. Bellator is really pushed the heavyweight division, and I'm looking forward to stepping in there and showing who I am.
Nice, man. Nice. So just, in relation to that 2-year plan, do you see yourself as, beating the gatekeeper and getting the number 1 title shot? 2-3 years? How long do you see it before it happens?
I'd say 3 kind of 3.5 years. I'll be up top 2, top 3. Like there's 10 guys, there's 10 guys I need to beat, if I have a few fights that are like kind of like filler fights before I get to rankings, that's grand too. But I'll be then up, let's say realistically, I have 7-8 pro fights. That's me in title contention then, like in Bellator,
Well, I think you move quickly at heavyweight. Things always move quickly at heavyweight. Before like you'll fight like 4 or 5 times, you fight the right guys, and you could be up there in the title talk.
Yeah, it's all about fighting the right guys, and especially with the rankings now, the Bellator release, you can actually see yourself moving up. It's not like kind of guessing who's next and kind of seeing made up rankings and being like all fights and all that. There's actually a ranking system out there, and you can see exactly how you can progress up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. So, bro, we've kind of covered a lot here, we have enough now coming up to this fight. So just before we kind of, close it off, do you have any, specific shout outs for people that have helped you kind of along the way, or maybe doing this training camp, maybe you've worked with someone more specifically?
Yeah, I've kind of mentioned all the sparring partners. They've gotten their 2 cents, but I'd like to give a special shout out to Greg Roach and Boo Health and Fitness. Like he has put savage amount of work into me, and his like as sponsor and as strength and conditioning coach, he's done fucking loads for me, like, and he has turned me into what Paul D from the MMA Opinion has said. I've gone from Lou Frigno Hulk to Mark Ruffalo Hulk. So I progressed in Hulks. Him, obviously SBG Cork, Liam, Marlene, they do fucking absolutely everything for me. Mar's my mother, like she treats me like a son, so she takes care of me and all that. Then on my sponsor side things, I have Ross Nutrition and Here's Health looking after my supplements and kind of making me look as big as I am. I have Alpha Caveman look after all my gear. I have Elite Sports Recovery looking after my recovery side of things. And I have my Cork Cycles who have given me a fucking awesome bike and have come aboard as a sponsor.
Cool, man. Cool. So look, Ryan, we wish you the best of luck and hope you can have another 5-10 minutes after your fight and we'll catch up again, bro. Thanks a lot for today, okay? Best of luck, bro.